Let me hear you make some noise for our class graduating. Make some noise for the school and class of 2022. So don't bear no day, no day.
Good afternoon. My name's Mark Kahn. I'm the Dean of the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine and Vice President for Health Affairs at UNLV. And it really is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to the 2022 commencement for the awarding of the Doctor of Medicine degree. As many of you know, this is a very historic event. This is only our second graduation as we train the next generation of physicians to care for our community. We're assembled to recognize and honor the members of the graduating class of 2022, again, the second class to graduate. I'd like you to stay standing for our national anthem sung by the wonderful Gary Fowler and accompanied by the terrific UNLV Jazz Ensemble.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched was so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free in the home of the brave?
Boy, if there's a heaven, that's what it sounds like. Thank you, folks. We can be seated. I'd now like to acknowledge my colleagues and special guests seated on stage. I'd like to ask each of them to raise their hands as their names are called, but please hold your applause until everyone has been introduced. In the first row to my right, Dr. Keith Whitfield, President of UNLV. Ms. Kathy McAdoo, Chair, Board of Regents, Nevada System of Higher Education. Regent Mark DeBrava, Nevada System of Higher Education. Mr. Donald Snyder, past President of UNLV, and Mr. Snyder was selected by the graduating class to deliver today's keynote address, but not just yet, Don, not just yet. Dr. Chris Heavey, UNLV Executive Vice President and Provost. Dr. Neil Haycox, Vice Dean for Academic Affairs and today's Grand Marshal. Dr. Gary Shen, Assistant Dean, Clinical Education. And in the first row to my left, Dr. Barbara Atkinson, Dean Emeritus, Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV. Ms. Joanne Strobe, Executive Associate Dean for Administration and Finance and Chief Financial and Operations Officer, as well as Interim CEO of UNLV Health. Dr. Johan Bester, Interim Assistant Dean for Biomedical Science Education, and Dr. Robert Hernandez, Associate Dean for Student Affairs and Admissions. Let's have a round of applause for these individuals. For the next set of introductions, I'd like to acknowledge our department chairs who are seated in the second row. Dr. Alyssa Palmer, Chair of Family and Community Medicine. Dr. Nadia Gomez, Interim Chair of Obstetrics and Gynecology. And Dr. Michael Daubs, Chair of Orthopedics. Dr. Robert Wong, Chair of Otolaryngology, Head and Neck Surgery. Dr. Evelyn Montalvo-Stanton, Chair of Pediatrics. Dr. Randy St. Hill, Interim Chair of Surgery. And Dr. Richard Benosa, Chair of Plastic Surgery. Let's have a round of applause. Again, I'd like to recognize members of the Board of Regents who are in attendance today, Regent McAdoo and Regent Dubrava. I'd now like to recognize some people who are very important to the success not only of the School of Medicine, but the university. And these are people who have been generous donors supporting the university, supporting scholarships, supporting the School of Medicine, supporting our charter class. And I'd like them to stand to be recognized. Dee Snyder joins us today. Ms. Snyder, who along with her husband Don Snyder are longtime supporters of UNLV and of the School of Medicine. I'd now like to recognize some of our healthcare affiliates if they're here today. I'd like to recognize Ms. Shanna Tello, Academic and External Affairs Officer for our primary teaching hospital, University Medical Center of Southern Nevada. For the next set of introductions, I'd ask each person or group to stand and be recognized. Dr. Allison Netsky, Vice Dean for Clinical Affairs, who's serving as our faculty marshal for today's ceremony. Mr. Gregory Schreck, President of the graduating class and today's student marshal. Mr. Schreck was also selected by his classmates to deliver today's student address, and Mr. Schreck actually interviewed me for this job about 2.5 years ago. Kudos, Mr. Schreck. Thank you. I'd like to recognize the Hooders who have been invited by the graduates to participate in the hooding ceremony. I'd like to recognize the Associate and Assistant Deans of the School of Medicine. And finally, I'd like to recognize the faculty of the School of Medicine, without which we would not have today's graduation. So congratulations, everyone. Now it's time for me to say a few remarks. And at graduation, it's common for many people to give advice. And, you know, I never remember what people say. So you may not remember what I say either, but I'm going to try to at least keep it brief. So I think that when you're about to graduate medical school and about to assume the role of a physician, there's a couple things I want you to remember. A couple words of advice. First word of advice, and the most important thing you're going to do for the rest of your career is you're going to care for people and you're going to care for families. It's actually quite simple. The secret for patient care is caring for the patient. The second bit of advice is medicine is a field where you are continually and learning. My kids used to tease me that I'd always say the secret of life is the eternal quest for knowledge, so I'm going to tell you that as well. But you are always learning in medicine. You learn from each other, you learn from your attendings, you learn from the residents ahead of you, and really importantly, you learn from your patients. Listen to them, listen to their stories, and listen to what they're telling you. I want you to participate. I want you to participate in the field, the house of medicine. I want you to get involved. And all that's really to make a difference. As future healthcare providers, as future physicians, you're in a position to make an incredible difference in people's lives. Don't take that responsibility lightly, but take it for real and make sure that you're going to make a difference. And finally, you're part of our family now. You're part of UNLV. Give back. And I don't just mean financially, that's easy. But give back, help us, recommend students to us, volunteer for us, tell us what we're doing right, tell us what we can do better. And I truly look forward in the future to reading an article in a prestigious journal or hearing a news report on CNN or another news channel and saying, I knew them when they were in the class of 2022. To the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine class of 2022, I wish you Godspeed. Thank you. It's now with great pleasure that I introduce the President of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, Dr. Keith Whitfield.
Welcome, friends, family, faculty, residents, and most of all, our graduates. To the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine Class of 2022 Commencement and Academic Hooding Ceremony. It's a thrill for me to be here today to watch you take those first steps into your new lives as physicians, equipped with the knowledge and training you've gained here at UNLV. Your passion for medicine and the compassion you have for others is outstanding. And as you celebrate your wonderful accomplishment today, also please give credit to and show your appreciation for the family members, the spouses, the partners, and other significant others who have supported you financially, emotionally, or in so many other ways. While you have been on this journey, you have had to make many sacrifices so that you could see this day. Those people have earned the pride they feel as they watch you advance to your new professional careers. The importance of today's ceremony cannot be overstated. Consider that you are only the second graduating class of a school that last year sent out its charter class into the world in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Like them, you have put your skills and your knowledge you've gained at UNLV to immediate use. We recognize the disruptions that you've had to overcome and the sacrifices that you've made to not only complete your rigorous training, but also that you have joined the front lines to help our community's response to COVID-19. Your commitment to this effort, especially your adaptability and compassion, have helped the well-being of our very community, our city, and our state when we needed it the most. Fortunately, while we are cautiously about declaring a full return to normalcy, all signs do point to better times ahead, and you should never forget how you overcame these difficult circumstances to attain what you have today. But I truly believe that your difficult journey through medical school at this particular time has strengthened your resolve and deepened your roots to UNLV and to Las Vegas. Whatever paths you follow on your professional journeys, carry with you the pride that you are a graduate of UNLV and that your career in medicine started here. And even if you leave for a time, I hope you'll consider returning to Las Vegas to share your skills with our community. Southern Nevada needs you, and you will always have a home here. In closing, I'd like to just say thank you. Thank you, and congratulations. You have worked very hard and have earned this day. You represent the spirit of UNLV. We honor you, we celebrate you, and we are immensely proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you, President Whitfield, for your truly inspirational words. It's now my honor and privilege to welcome to the podium the Chair of the Board of Regents for the Nevada System of Higher Education, Ms. Kathy McAdoo. Regent McAdoo.
Thank you, Dean Kahn. Class of 2022, I add my congratulations to each of you on behalf of the Board of Regents. I am truly honored to be a part of this event and to speak with you at this very special point in your careers. Each of you receiving your medical doctorates later in the ceremony represents the realization of many years of hard work and dedication by you, your families, your faculty, and the leadership of this marvelous university. This celebration also acknowledges the extraordinary challenges each of you faced as you began your clinical training in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic. I can only imagine the impact this had as you tried to learn the basics of medical practice. In a few weeks, all of you will join the ranks of new physicians in your residency training as our nation and the world emerges from the pandemic. I hope, and I actually know, the resilience, compassion, and strength that you demonstrated over the past 2 years continue to guide you as you care for your patients and communities. As regents of the university system in Nevada, we have provided oversight and leadership, but I know that it has taken the effort of countless individuals, students, faculty, and staff to teach and support you to reach this important milestone. Their effort helped make today possible. I say thank you and recognize that without your work, this celebration of the second class of medical student graduates could not have happened at the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV. As I watched all of you prepare to enter today's ceremony, I saw your smiles and your joy and the sense of fellowship you clearly have with each other. That can only be earned by facing the challenges and overcoming the obstacles that you faced together. As you look toward your future, most of what is said here today won't be remembered, but I know you will remember the community you built while you were here at UNLV. Each of you is now an ambassador of that community and of the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV. As ambassadors, I know you will spread the reputation of the medical school and university as you enter your next phase of training. I am certain you will make all of us proud. As the chair of the Board of Regents, I will watch each of you as you walk across the stage and receive your academic hood with admiration. Our medical school makes doctors, and today we celebrate the newest physicians to enter the medical profession. Congratulations, class of 2022. I look forward to calling each of you doctor later today.
Thank you, Regent McAdoo. So now, it really does give me pleasure, and it's my honor and privilege to introduce the keynote speaker. So I first met Mr. Don Snyder shortly after I took on the job, and Don was one of the first people that I reached out to. Don will probably tell you that he served a variety of roles at UNLV, including serving as a president, a dean, and many other roles. And Don and his wife have been incredible supporters of the school. The class speaker is actually chosen by the president, and there were many suggestions for class speaker, Don. Carrot Top. But, you know, we decided that the heck with Carrot Top and Barry Manilow. We're going with Don Snyder. So Don was actually picked by the students, and it's really our honor to introduce him. Don, again, has been important in so many ways to the community of Southern Nevada. His list of contributions, service, and philanthropy are really part of the fabric of what makes Las Vegas really the vibrant community that it is, whether it's working with the Smith Center or working with the university. And Don has been singly and critically important to making the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV reality. My predecessor, Dean Emeritus Barbara Atkinson, talked to me about Don when I had first started. Again, Don was interim president at UNLV, continues to serve as an advisor to the president. His work has led to the Hospitality College at UNLV in 2013. Really one of the most beautiful buildings UNLV has until we open ours, Don, which is in just a couple weeks. And he was really part of the initial impetus to create the medical school in 2014. Don's work has really moved Las Vegas forward in very important ways, whether it be the creation of the Smith Center for the Performing Arts, the Raiders football stadium, where the UNLV Rebels play their home football games, the Fremont Street Experience, and many others. I'm proud to have our medical school on the list of institutions Don has been part of in creating. And Don doesn't just do important work to make these visions a reality. Again, he's also a generous contributor towards these efforts. In 2013, Don was elected Philanthropist of the Year by then Nevada Governor Brian Sandoval. In his philanthropy, the students of some of them that he'll be most familiar with, he and his wife Dee have donated tuition scholarships to each class of medical students since the school opened. The class of 2022 includes one of their scholarship recipients and the second graduate who will go on to become a physician. There are other scholarship recipients in subsequent classes. And again, it was really the medical students, the class of 2022, who decided to invite Don to give this year's keynote graduation speech. And with that, Don, we welcome you. Thank you.
Thank you for that very kind and very long introduction. My mother, if she was still with us, would be very proud. It is a tremendous honor to have been asked by this graduating class to speak at this commencement. It has added significance to me for having been president of UNLV when we had the opportunity to push for the initial approvals to start this school and hire the exceptional founding dean, Barbara Atkinson. Even more, it has been wonderful to see the scholarships that my wife Dee and I provided being put to such fine use. For Greg Schreck in this graduating class, and last year, Mara Mackey in the first graduating class. Dee and I moved to Nevada 35 years ago when I was asked to be the chairman, president, and CEO of First Interstate Bank of Nevada, the largest bank in the state at the time. That bank is now Wells Fargo Bank. It's still the largest bank in the state. Dee, not unlike a lot of spouses who were asked to move here at that time, said, "You want us to move where?" She got more comfortable with the move when I told her that it would probably only be for 3 or 4 years, a stop in a banking career which would take us elsewhere after a short period of time. We quickly became engaged with Las Vegas and decided that this is where we wanted to be and where we wanted to raise our family. In fact, when asked about 4 years after we arrived, I turned down banking career opportunities in California, back in California, and in Texas. I turned those offers down and moved away from my career in banking. It was during those 4 years, however, as CEO of the bank, that I came to see the challenges which drove me to get engaged in our community. As head of the bank, one of my most difficult challenges was recruiting senior executives to move to Las Vegas from other cities. I could get the prospective candidate, the prospective executive, excited about the professional opportunity, but when he or she returned home to talk with the family, they would say, as Dee did in 1987, "You want us to move where?" You see, we just did not have the things that more mature cities had: culture, quality education, social services support network, professional sports, and of course, sufficient quality health care. In fact, we were at or toward the bottom of virtually every measure of community quality in those days, including the number of healthcare professionals for the size of our community. But that condition is what drew us closer to this community. We saw the need for help and had the opportunity to get involved to make a difference. With my move to Las Vegas, there were 3 organizations with which I got involved with very actively from the very beginning. United Way, because I saw the need and the opportunity through one organization to focus on the social service needs of our community. Second, the Clark County School District, because I understood the importance of K through 12 education to a community, and I had a pretty good sense of the challenges that the K through 12 system faced at that time. And then 3, UNLV, because I had firmly come to understand that you cannot have a great community without a great university, and more on this later. Along the way, while maintaining my focus on those 3 organizations, my interest broadened. Shortly after leaving First Interstate Bank, I was asked by the owners of the downtown Las Vegas casinos to lead the redevelopment of Fremont Street. That became the Fremont Street Experience in 1995, and it was the largest public sector, private sector partnership in the history of the state at that time. It was during the development of the Fremont Street experience that I had my arm twisted to attend a meeting hosted by Steve and Elaine Wynn at their Golden Nugget, the hotel that they owned downtown back in those days. I still remember Steve standing up and saying to the group that Las Vegas was the largest community in America without its own performing arts center, and that we needed to change that. A few of us at that meeting picked up that charge, and a few years later, I became the volunteer chairman of the board of the nonprofit organization that we created. I am pleased that we then hired Myron Martin to help me lead that effort. We are both incredibly proud to have celebrated the Smith Center's 10th anniversary just earlier this year. But now let me turn to UNLV and this Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine. I said earlier that I became very involved with UNLV when we first moved to Las Vegas because, as I also said earlier, you cannot have a great city without a great university. I joined the UNLV Foundation Board of Trustees my first year in Las Vegas. I went on to chair that board for 5 years and then chaired UNLV's first and only comprehensive capital campaign. We successfully completed that campaign at the end of 2009, raising $537 million against our $500 million campaign goal. On the heels of completing that campaign, I received a call one morning from then UNLV President Neil Samatrask. After a short conversation, he said, "I want to ask you something, and you're going to think I'm crazy." After a lot of positioning, he finally got to the point and asked if I would become dean of UNLV's highly regarded College of Hospitality. I did think he was crazy. While I had been president of Boyd Gaming Corporation for 9 years after completing the Fremont Street experience, I did not have the traditional academic background of a university dean. In short, I committed a few days later and began my service inside UNLV in 2010. In my third year as dean, President Samatrask asked me to take on the additional responsibility of leading the efforts to build an on-campus football stadium. More on that in just a minute. At the end of 2013, President Samatrask unexpectedly resigned. I was pleasantly surprised to be asked to serve as acting president of UNLV while the Regents conducted a national search for a permanent president. That year as acting president in 2014 was very busy, and we accomplished a lot more than most people thought possible. We initiated a strategic planning process focused on becoming a Carnegie Research One university. We also gained legislative support for the concept of an on-campus football stadium. However, the concept of having an on-campus stadium was interrupted by the opportunity to meet with Mark Davis about the possibility of having the Raiders move to Las Vegas. I had the pleasure of hosting the first 2 meetings with Mark and his Raider colleagues. I am very pleased with how all that turned out, even though the stadium did not end up on our campus. We also put UNLV on the world stage when we gained approval that year to host the final U.S. presidential debate for the 2016 presidential election. All of the things I've been talking about are covered in a book I completed in 2018. Taking the Lead, the name of that book, is an autobiography I wrote with co-author Jack Sheehan, a biographer who has done books for many notable Las Vegans, as well as people around the country. You should have all received a signed copy of that book at your dinner last night. Before I finish here today, I want to talk about the thing for which I am most proud of from my time with UNLV, the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine. It was during my year as acting president of UNLV, as you've heard, in 2014, that we decided to advance the concept of a School of Medicine. I had the pleasure of hiring founding Dean Barbara Atkinson to lead that effort, and we laid the foundation for the necessary approval from the Board of Regents, from the state legislature, and Governor Sandoval. I said at the time that the School of Medicine will be the most important thing that the university will ever do for our community, and that it will be the most important thing that the university will have ever done for itself. That benefit to the university itself goes to the research which results from an academic school of medicine. It was wonderful to listen to Dean Kahn highlight that research in his recent State of the School address. It is also with great pride that I saw UNLV achieve its Carnegie Research One status in 2018, more than 5 years ahead of the goal that we discussed when initiating that strategic planning process in 2014. We have the School of Medicine in very large part to thank for accelerating that time frame. But to the first point that I made, that the School of Medicine will be the most important thing that the university will ever do for our community, is where you graduates come in. From the time that Dee and I moved here nearly 35 years ago, we heard and got very tired of the joke, where do you go when you need serious medical care? McCarran Airport. It became very clear to me that we had some very fine doctors here. We just did not have enough of them, and for some specialties, we had none. What I had come to understand about so many aspects of our infrastructure, education, culture, philanthropy, to name just a few, applied in spades to healthcare. Compounded growth, especially when it applies to population, creates challenges which are very tough to manage. For several decades now, we have had record growth year over year, virtually every year. This type of compounded growth makes it very difficult to keep up, let alone catch up with all the shortfalls that are created over an extended period of time. As a consequence, we were at or toward the bottom of most measures of adequate health care for our population. In terms of medical education, the shortfalls were clear to me when I interviewed Barbara Atkinson. I asked her to compare what she saw here in Las Vegas to her experience in Kansas, where she had been the dean of the University of Kansas School of Medicine. Dean Atkinson started by saying that the population of the greater Kansas City area was about 2 million people in 2014, coincidentally about the same as the population here in the greater Las Vegas area. She went on to detail the medical education infrastructure in the greater Kansas City area, and it became clear to me that a school of medicine at UNLV was not a nice to have, it was an absolute essential need. In the greater Kansas City area, there were 2 university schools of medicine, the University of Kansas School of Medicine, and across the river, the University of Missouri School of Medicine. They were both graduating more than 250, maybe 275 students per year at that time. In addition, there was an osteopathic school of medicine, which was graduating around 400 students per year. In contrast, we had one university school of medicine for our entire state, UNR, which was graduating 70 students per year, along with an osteopathic school, Toro, which was graduating around 75 or 80 per year at that time. Those facts were very compelling and played an incredibly important role in gaining the necessary approval to proceed with the School of Medicine, even against very strong political and regional pushback. It prompted me to be very aggressive in supporting Dean Atkins' heroic efforts. It also prompted Dee and me to support the school with the scholarships that have been discussed here today already. I am both proud and excited to be here to see the very tangible results from those early efforts. First, the accreditation, which happened in concert with the most aggressive schedule that we could have envisioned at the time. 2, the transition from founding Dean Atkinson to the very capable Dean Kahn. And 3, Kirk Kerkorian's name on the School of Medicine. I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Kerkorian many years ago and seeing the quality of person he was. His name and the philanthropic support of his foundation will forever have a positive impact on this school and our community. In his March 30th State of the School address, Dr. Kahn highlighted the many accomplishments of this School of Medicine. Among the accolades, Dr. Kahn very appropriately highlighted the quality contributions and well-deserved recognition received by the incredible faculty and administrative team that he and Dean Atkinson have built. This faculty and leadership team deserves even more credit, thanks for doing what they have done during the period of the incredible challenges presented by the pandemic. To all of you, please know that your special efforts will never be forgotten by our community. In addition to all the accomplishments I have just touched on, we now have the second graduating class, the class of 2022. What a wonderful series of events we could have only dreamed of a few years ago. And now I'd like to focus on you, the graduating class of 2022, and your dedication and success in getting to this point. If there was a bigger challenge than that faced by the faculty during the pandemic, It was the challenge faced by you students. As your education was not already challenging enough, you had your training seriously interrupted by the pandemic, and then you entered your clinical rotations in the height of the pandemic. Please know that these extra challenges will make you even stronger and better equipped to move forward with your career. I would like to close with a challenge to you graduates, a challenge to build your careers here in Las Vegas. We need your professional talent and your professional service, but we also need to build on the foundation that we have laid here with the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine. We need the school to increase its impact in the years ahead. Your involvement will help us get there. We need more residencies and, in time, larger graduating classes. Both will result in more doctors and specialties in an area which clearly needs them. We also need your help in picking up the leadership reins beyond the medical world. Las Vegas needs to continue to address the broader challenges in social service, in education, in culture, and in philanthropy. I dream of what people like you can do to make Las Vegas a truly world-class city in all regards. So build your careers, and over time, do all that you can to build our broader community. You truly can make a difference. Thank you for having me today. It is an honor I will never forget.
Thank you again, Mr. Snyder, for your words of advice and your encouragement. Let's clap again for. So, the moment we've been waiting for, because now is the time that our graduates actually will no longer be Mr., Mrs., Ms., etc., but will be Doctor. So I'm going to now ask President Keith Whitfield to join me in the conferral of the degree Doctor of Medicine to the graduates. Will the graduates for the degree Doctor of Medicine please rise? That's you guys. So before we get to the main show, I want to do one thing. I want the graduates to look on both sides, and I want you to clap for the people that helped you get where you got today. So let's do that first. President Whitfield, having fulfilled all of the necessary requirements, I have the honor and privilege to present to you these graduates for receipt of the Doctor of Medicine degree from the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV.
Thank you, Dean Kahn. It's with utmost pride that I confer upon you the second graduating class of the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV, the Doctor of Medicine degree. The degree signifies that you qualify to join the profession of medicine and that you accept the rights, privileges, and responsibilities of a physician. Please move your tassels from left to right. Congratulations, doctors.
So I'd like to ask a question. Dr. Whitfield can ask this too, and that is there a doctor in the house? Is there a doctor in the house? Doctors, please be seated. I'd now like to, we're now going to present diplomas, and I think I asked my colleague, Dr. Robert Hernandez, to come forward, and President Whitfield, you and I are going to actually hand out the diplomas in the front stage.
Our first graduate is Dr. Amalia Alver. Dr. Alver is being hooded by Naima Alver. Next, Dr. Gwendolyn Amstrala. Dr. Amstrala is being hooded by Nancy Balati. Next is Dr. Sabrina Antonio. Dr. Antonio is being hooded by Ray Antonio. Next is Dr. Danielle Arceo. Dr. Arceo is being hooded by Sheila Arceo. Next is Dr. Tristan Bakerink. Dr. Bakerink is being hooded by Dr. James Bakerink. Next is Dr. Justin Bowson. Dr. Bowson is being hooded by Dr. Samuel Bowson. Next is Dr. Tyler Blackwell. Dr. Blackwell is being hooded by Victoria Barreto. Next is Dr. Christian Borichan. Dr. Borichan is being hooded by Dr. Kelly Borichan. Next is Dr. Gregory Schreck. Dr. Schreck is being hooded by Dr. Scott Schreck. Next is Dr. Janelle Castellino. Dr. Castellino is being hooded by Stephen Castellino. Next is Dr. Mitchell Klingo. Dr. Klingo is being hooded by Tori Klingo. Next is Dr. Kelsey Constantine. Dr. Constantine is being hooded by Colby Constantine. Next is Dr. Cole Crosby. Dr. Crosby is being hooded by Nina Habibovich. Next is Dr. Donis Davis. Dr. Davis is being hooded by Dr. Kimberly Monty. Next is Dr. Winona Dizon. Dr. Dizon is being hooded by Luvi Alexander. Next is Dr. Dimitri Franzoni. Dr. Franzoni is being hooded by David Franzoni. Next is Dr. Jessica Franzoni. Dr. Franzoni is being hooded by Mark Hill. Next is Dr. Brandon Gaston. Dr. Gaston is being hooded by Brenda Parham. Next is Dr. Taylor Gillis. Dr. Gillis is being hooded by Bobby Gillis. Next is Dr. Sarah S. Haller. Dr. Haller is being hooded by Karen S. Haller. Next is Dr. Andrew Hahn. Dr. Hahn is being hooded by Dr. Eden Lee. Next is Dr. Kag Iglinski Benjamin. Dr. Iglinski Benjamin is being hooded by Dr. Nora Doyle. Next is Dr. Lucas James. Dr. James is being hooded by Gina James. Next is Dr. Darlene Julian. Dr. Julian is being hooded by Simone Julian. Next is Dr. Austin Kennedy. Dr. Kennedy is being hooded by Mackenzie Kennedy. Next is Dr. Rebecca Kolstad. Dr. Kolstad is being hooded by Dr. Nora Doyle. Next is Dr. Rachel Craycaw. Dr. Craycaw is being hooded by Dr. Kirk Kerkorian. Next is Dr. Shalette Lambert-Swainston. Dr. Lambert-Swainston is being hooded by Dr. Thomas Lambert. Next is Dr. Caroline Latowick. Dr. Latowick is being hooded by Dr. Marco Zegarak. Next is Dr. Jessa Rose Amora Lee. Dr. Lee is being hooded by Roberta Amora. Next is Dr. Alexander Lin. Dr. Lin is being hooded by Dr. Eden Lee. Next is Dr. Melissa Lin. Dr. Lin is being hooded by Liang Lin. Next is Dr. Asami Lines. Dr. Lines is being hooded by Ri Hattori. Next is Dr. Jeanette Liu. Dr. Liu is being hooded by Jinfeng Zhen. Next is Dr. Mason Montano. Dr. Montano is being hooded by Dr. Samuel Montano. Next is Dr. Arturo Montes. Dr. Montes is being hooded by Rosa Arias. Next is Dr. Desiree Morris. Dr. Morris is being hooded by Juanita Morris Gettings. Next is Dr. Gersharon Narwal. Dr. Narwal is being hooded by Jujinder Narwal. Next is Dr. Alexandra Novensky. Dr. Novensky is being hooded by Nadina Novensky. Next is Dr. Ikena Obalor. Dr. Obalor is being hooded by Janelle Obalor. Next is Dr. Lauren Osler. Dr. Osler is being hooded by Dr. Jeff E. Moxley. Next is Dr. Raina Rappel. Dr. Rappel is being hooded by Dr. Nora Doyle. Next is Dr. Babak Siddiqzadeh. Dr. Siddiqzadeh is being hooded by Dr. Barbara Atkinson. Next is Dr. Aaron Singer. Dr. Singer is being hooded by Olivia Singer. Next is Dr. Danielle Strosa. Dr. Strosa is being hooded by Marianne Strosa. Next is Dr. Mayiko Suarez. Dr. Suarez is being hooded by Ray Suarez. Next is Dr. Ellie Tien. Dr. Tien is being hooded by Dr. Zhang Tien. Next is Dr. Robert Vargas. Dr. Vargas is being hooded by Celsa Eugenio de Vargas. Next is Dr. Kathy Velez. Dr. Velez is being hooded by Jose Luis Velez. Next is Dr. Jason West. Dr. West is being hooded by Whitney West. Next is Dr. Laura Wozniak. Dr. Wozniak is being hooded by Emil Wozniak. Next is Dr. Tesfaye Yadete. Dr. Yadete is being hooded by Hallie Yadete. Next is Dr. Brianna Yee. Dr. Yee is being hooded by Lonnie Yee. Next is Dr. Alexander Zajac. Dr. Zajac is being hooded by Connie Chung. And our final graduate today is Dr. Vladislav Zhitny. Dr. Zhitny is being hooded by his mother, Lara Wilson.
Let's have a round of applause for all the graduates. I neglected to acknowledge Dr. Neil Haycox, Vice Dean for Academic Affairs, Dr. Gary Shen, Assistant Dean for Clinical Education, and of course, Dr. Robert Hernandez, Associate Dean for Student Affairs and Admissions, who really participated in our recent diploma ceremony. I'd now like to call on Dr. Johan Bester, Assistant Dean for Biomedical Science Education and Director of Bioethics, to come forward and lead the graduates in taking the physician's oath. If it's okay, Dr. Bester, can other physicians in the room stand and take the oath? And it is, in fact, in the program. Dr. Bester.
Good afternoon. Graduates, please rise. Doctors, please rise. So you may remember when you were at your white coat ceremony, you recited an oath that you wrote. And now we're going to use the Declaration of Geneva, which is used and proclaimed by doctors all over the world, to profess our allegiance to the values central to medicine. What I'm going to ask you to do is to turn around to the communities and face the communities that you will serve and pledge the oath to them. So turn around, and for those of you who want to follow along, it is in page 13 of your program, and for graduates, if you want to follow along, it's in page 13. Now you'll see it has sort of line by line, so I'll read the line and then you repeat after me. As a member of the medical profession, I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the service of humanity. The health and well-being of my patient will be my first consideration. I will respect the autonomy and dignity of my patient. I will maintain the utmost respect for human life. I will not permit considerations of age, disease, or disability, creed, ethnic origin, gender, nationality, political affiliation, race, sexual orientation, social standing, or any other factor to intervene between my duty and my patient. I will respect the secrets that are confided in me, even after the patient has died. I will practice my profession with conscience and dignity, and in accordance with good medical practice. I will foster the honor and noble traditions of the medical profession. I will give to my teachers, colleagues, and students the respect and gratitude that is their due. I will share my medical knowledge for the benefit of the patient and the advancement of healthcare. I will attend to my own health, well-being, and abilities in order to provide care of the highest standard. I will not use my medical knowledge to violate human rights and civil liberties, even under threat. I make these promises solemnly, freely, and upon my honor. Thank you. Let's applaud them and welcome them to the profession.
So my friend and colleague, Dr. Barbara Atkinson, served as a founding dean for the UNLV School of Medicine from 2014 through 2020. In that role, she created the vision and educational program for the school. She built a strong regional and legislative support, hired a core team of academic faculty and staff. Working with her team and the assembled Community Advisory Board, she led the effort to align the school's mission with the healthcare needs of the Southern Nevada community and region. Dr. Atkinson led the effort to raise $13.5 million in less than 60 days to fund scholarships for future medical students, including the entire charter class of physicians. Dr. Atkinson has served in multiple leadership roles before bringing her vision and leadership to UNLV. In fact, she's the only woman to lead not one, not two, but 3 medical schools in the United States. She also served on the Institute of Medicine, now the National Academy of Medicine, one of the most highest honors, really, that can be achieved in our profession. And we continue, and I continue to benefit from her visionary leadership in her role as Dean Emeritus. In honor of Dr. Atkinson's service and contributions to development of the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV, we've created our highest award for a graduating student, the Dr. Barbara Atkinson Service and Leadership Award. This award recognizes a graduating senior who has demonstrated outstanding community service and leadership throughout their matriculation. This award was made possible through a generous donation by Deborah and Gary Ackerman. This is the only award that we give at graduation, and this year's award recipient is a very special young doctor, Dr. Justin Balzon. Dr. Balzon, please join me at the podium. I'm going to start reading about him because it goes on for a while. So, put simply, Dr. Balzon has just had an exceptional career at the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine. Academically, he's excelled at every level and was inducted into the National Honor Society Alpha Omega Alpha in recognition of his scholastic achievement, professionalism, and leadership. He served as chapter president of the UNLV Medical Research Society and the Asian Pacific Medical Student Association. He's also served as a medical student representative to the admissions committee and medical student ambassador for the School of Medicine. His research efforts have included projects with the Cleveland Clinic, Lou Ruvo Center for Brain Health, the UNLV Department of Internal Medicine, and the Department of Brain Health. He has co-authored 4 peer-reviewed articles, 1 abstract, 9 posters, including an award-winning poster at the American College of Physicians 2021 Virtual National Conference. Perhaps most impressive has been his hundreds of hours of community service, including his extensive work with the National Alliance of Mental Illness, or NAMI. So let me just break a second, because here we have a student who excels academically, excels in research, and excels in community service. In recognition of his many contributions to public health, last night Justin received the National United States Public Health Service 2022 Excellence in Public Health Awards. He's also been selected by the surgery faculty as the outstanding student in surgery. Justin will be continuing his medical education in general surgery at the Cleveland Clinic. We all look forward to following his career and anticipate and hope and expect that he'll return to Las Vegas when he's done training. Please join me in congratulating this extremely exemplary young physician, Dr. Justin Bowson, this year's recipient of the Barbara Atkinson Service and Leadership Award.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations again, Dr. Bowson. So we're going to go a little off script here, and it's really with mixed emotions that I announce that Dr. Neil Haycox, Vice Dean for Academic Affairs and Education, is going to be leaving the School of Medicine in June to pursue fellowship training in forensic pathology at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. We'd be remiss to not take a moment to recognize the many contributions of Dr. Haycox, who's been part of the School of Medicine for 7 years. As we witnessed at last night's award ceremony, he's an outstanding teacher who has repeatedly been recognized by the medical students for his exceptional teaching skills. He was instrumental in the development and implementation of the medical school curriculum, and really was key in obtaining full accreditation of the MD program in 2020 and 2021. Dr. Haycox showed tremendous leadership as he guided the faculty and students through the COVID pandemic, ensuring the least amount of disruption possible during the most volatile time. Those who have worked with Dr. Haycox can also attest to his outstanding professionalism. He's caring, supportive, and committed to the success of those around him. We're going to greatly miss Dr. Haycox, and I'm going to greatly miss Dr. Haycox. I wish him well as he pursues the next stage of his professional career. And I get it. Dr. Haycox is a consummate professional who really wants to return to a career in academic pathology. Please join me in congratulating and thanking Dr. Haycox for exceptional service to the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine. Dr. Haycox, can you join me at the podium? Can you come forward? Here's to you, Dr. Haycox. It's now my pleasure to introduce to you today's student speaker, Dr. Gregory Schreck. Greg serves as a senior class president and was selected by his class to speak on the students' behalf. As I mentioned earlier, I first met Greg when I applied to become Dean of the School of Medicine. As a member of the Dean's Search Committee, he interviewed me. I guess since I'm here, so I guess he liked me. Thank you, Greg. I really appreciate your support. In fact, you know, when you interview for jobs like this and you have a list of people you're going to be talking to, you know, you look them up. So I learned that Greg had a band, Desert Yeti. And I brought that up in our interview, and he's like, how the hell did you know that? And it's kind of, I did my homework. But anyway, Greg was inducted into Alpha Omega Alpha Honor Medical Society, recognizing his exemplary academic achievement, professionalism, and promise of becoming a leader in the profession. And part of evidence of Greg's leadership is he's been president for all 4 years. Greg's involvement in leadership over the past 4 years have been critical to development of the MD program, and I personally look forward to following his career as he transitions into residency training in internal medicine, the best specialty at the University of Utah. I tease, I'm an internist. Dr. Schreck, we want you to come back to Las Vegas, and I welcome you to the podium.
Thank you, Dean Kahn. All right, y'all, we did it. Gosh, I often forget how much things have changed since we started here, but I catch myself looking back and it really makes me happy. We've come so far, we've grown so much. You know, we came in as the second class, just 60 of us, plus 60 students in the charter class, and that was it. Plus the faculty, that was the whole school, 120 students. There was this sense of excitement, of adventure. The whole school was new. We were doing something new. We heard fairly often, you know, we're trying X, Y, and Z for the first time with your class, and that usually went over well. Sometimes Dr. Haycox would say it with an air of foreboding, and then it would generate nervous discussion. Whether he did that unintentionally or for his own amusement, we'll never know. But for the most part, you know, we showed up, we were ready to be part of a new program to figure it out as we went, and we did. We finished our first year. We saw a class coming after us, joked we were no longer the middle child, or we were the middle child now, no longer the intense focus of the faculty or the recipients of the most free food on campus, though there was still free food. We saw yet another class come in and the school was up to its full capacity. Things changed bit by bit, and now as we're moving on, the school is full. We've graduated 2 classes and we have our own brand new medical campus. I think for anyone coming in now, things on day one would feel very different than they did on our day one. And I'm very glad that we're so established now. I'm so happy to see it. But I'm also really glad that we got to be here for the beginning because we've seen so much growth, so much change in ourselves and the school. And in seeing that, I think we got to see what was important and made it possible for us to go through that and then look back in awe of how far we've come. Because there were great times, and there were also very difficult times. We dealt with the common doubts of medical students, you know, of ourselves, our abilities, even our career choice. But we also faced the added uncertainties of being a new program, of being the first to try many of these things, of beginning work in the hospital in the early days of COVID. And looking back on the rockier patches of the 4 years, when I think most of us really felt that dual challenge of not only becoming doctors, but also pushing the school forward in a difficult time, knowing that was kind of on us. I think what got us through it, that kept us going, I think it was everyone here. And I think seeing that was really powerful. I think the difference between success and failure was made by everyone, the friends, the family, the faculty, the donors, everyone here today, putting in work, showing up, caring enough to support each other, to listen to each other. We came this far together, but because we had each other's support, and that made it possible to grow so much in a very short 4 years, despite some very large unforeseen challenges. I know that personally you all really were my greatest strength and asset through this time. Everyone here who cared, listened, taught, laughed, supported, helped, advised. Everyone who cared about me during those 4 years is the reason that I've succeeded and grown to today. And y'all are what took us from that day when we showed up, you know, knowing very little, to a school that was half empty, that we shared with the dental students, to today. And I'm really glad I was here to see that, because now those combined efforts of our faculty, our family, our friends, and ourselves have culminated in the launching of all these careers that I know will collectively touch the lives of thousands of patients out of a school that it's hard to believe started its first class just 5 years ago. So starting my career, I'll have a visceral understanding of what makes that difference and what it takes to work for someone to make such a difference for them, to go from point A to point B when point B is hard to even imagine. It takes people all around you who show up, who work hard, who care. And I think most people would say that, but it's one thing to say it, it's another to have seen it in action and to have been the beneficiary of all of those efforts. So now it's time for us to be those people. Our patients will need us to be those people who care. Our coworkers will need us to be those people who support. Our families will need us to be those people. So I hope we don't forget the immense support that we've received through this time from everyone here, the collective effort towards our success and how powerful it proved, because it's up to us to take that with us and share it with as many people as we can. So thank you everyone for everything you've done for me. And congratulations to the class of 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Schreck, for your inspirational words. Let's have another round of applause for Dr. Schreck. So class of 2022, I wish you good luck. I wish you good health. I wish you good times. Godspeed. I'd now like to ask everyone to stand for the alma mater, which can be found at the back of the commencement program. After the alma mater, please remain standing.
1, 2. Alma mater, we praise you for spirit, eternal flame, strength which never falters, a tribute to your name. Alma mater, we thank you, exalted, scarlet and gray, truth and wisdom from your standard in our minds and hearts will stay. Alma mater, we cherish you, and in our days that are yet to be, our voices let us ever raise and honor UNLV. Our voices let us ever raise and honor UNLV.
Thank you, Gary Fowler and the UNLV Jazz Ensemble. So again, I'd like to congratulate the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV, class of 2022. And I ask again, is there a doctor in the house? Is there a doctor in the house? Is there a doctor in the house? Congratulations.
Make some noise for the class of 2022! Hey! Summertime and the living is easy. Fish are jumping and the cotton is high. Your dad is rich and your mama's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. Say one of these mornings you're gonna rise up singing. Then you spread your wings and you take to the sky. Until that morning there's nothing that can harm you. With Daddy and Mammy standing by. Come on, play something pretty for the class, hey! Hey! Congratulations, y'all. Come on. Yeah. Congratulations. Yeah, yeah. Summertime, yeah, and the living is easy. Fish are jumping, and the cotton is high. Your dad is rich, yeah, and your mama's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings, you're gonna rise up singing. Then you'll spread your wings and you'll take to the sky until that morning. There's nothing that can harm you. With Daddy and Mammy standing by. Summertime, and the living is easy. Fish are jumping, and the cotton is high. Until that morning, there's nothing that can harm you. With Daddy and Mammy standing by. One of these mornings, you're gonna rise up singing. Then you spread your wings and you take to the sky until that morning. There ain't nothing that can harm you. With Daddy and Mammy say